Hello, it's Lucky here. We are continuing on the Usurper series. The first lesson for us today is in the beginning. Really? Today we're covering the so-called beginning. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to differentiate the difference between God, Elohim, Lord, Yahweh, first mankind, and the golem. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, and the earth was without form. This is in the beginning. Without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Let's go ahead and find out who is God. We can do that. Yes. We're going to go to the interlinear. Let's take a look. And we have God right here. Elohim. Anytime there is a Hebrew word with I-M at the end of it, it means plural. Plural. That's right. Elohim. It says plural of Eloha or Eloha, Eloah, whatever. However they pronounce it. Good Lord, I can't do this. I can't pronounce their stuff. So Elohim, Elohim. All right, divine being, exceedingly God, gods, God, goddess, godly gods, great judges, mighty rulers, and shrine. That's in with the star there. But you've also got plural. So basically the gods and goddesses were at the beginning. Now let's move back to first day, light, second day, firmament, then dry ground, sun, moon, stars, fish and birds, creatures on the land, and here we go. This is where we're going with this. God said, let us make God, meaning Elohim. Elohim said, or gods and goddesses said, let us, plural, make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish and sea, fowl, air, over the cattle, earth, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So Elohim created man in their own image, in the image of God, or Elohim created them male and female, and blessed them. And God said to them, or Elohim said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it. We will talk about that. What does replenish mean? Why? What do you mean replenish? And have dominion over the fish of the sea, fowl of the air, living thing, blah, blah, blah. And behold, I've given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. I hate King James Version, folks. I really do. But it will be for you to eat as meat, and to every beast of the earth, blah, blah. Got it? Okay, so the whole earth, basically what happened is Elohim is plural, gods and goddesses. God, Elohim made man and woman and told them to refill or replenish the earth. What happened to it for it to have been emptied? The implication is curious. Elohim also told the man and woman to eat fruit as meat who had been eating meat before this, to be used as an example. On the seventh day, Elohim rested. The first verse of chapter 2 is supposed to be on the last verse of chapter 1, and we will go into that right now. Let's take a look. Thus the heavens and earth were finished, and the host of them. On the seventh day, God rested. Elohim rested from the work. The gods and goddesses rested from the work on the seventh day, from all they made, and blessed it, sanctified it, because they rested. As you can see, so this actually, the seventh day should be in chapter 1, don't you think? You don't leave a portion of chapter 1 off to chapter 2 for space or whatever have you. You don't do that. Any good writer knows it. Anyway, so the second one now. Here we go. Here we go. Chapter 2, creation of man. These are the generations, heaven and earth, where they were created, that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Notice that they didn't say that this guy, I'm sitting here trying to point to it, that this guy created the whole thing. There was details in the first chapter. This just is an assumed thing. Anyway, we have all kinds of things to work on. Again, the man and woman, and the first man and woman that were made by Elohim, the gods and goddesses, were allowed to eat of all the fruit of all the earth. No restrictions, no prohibitions. So chapter 2, verse 4, there's a new God, and he's called Lord or Yahweh. Let's take a look at this. We're going to go ahead into interlinear. Let's see if I got it over here. Yes. All right. And the creation. And so it goes into Yahweh. Here's verse 4. Who's Yahweh? Proper name of the God of Israel. So basically there's a God of other places too, right? Yeah? Okay. And we know who Yahweh is all over the place. We generally, or my associates and I, we call it Yahweh the virus. And it is a virus because it is usurping. It has been injected into the narrative of our creation. So we've got this usurper who came in. It's a proper name of deity. And again, since there was a mist over the land, let's go ahead and go into that here. Let's take a look where that is. Let's see if it's here. Let's try that. Clicked for chapter 2. Here we go. And the creation of man. Let's go to the King James Version. I prefer that right now. King James Version, as opposed to trying to read it in the backwards tense that the Hebrews like. So he planted the garden, supposedly planted a garden eastward in Eden. There he put the man whom he formed. Well, so the man was formed before Eden was? And out of the ground the Lord God to grow every tree pleasant to sight. In the midst of the garden. But there was no, here's the forbidden fruit. God took the man, or Lord took the man, Yahweh took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress and keep it. So he, dude was created to be a gardener, a servant. Anyway, and so Yahweh commanded this man, saying, of every tree of every garden thou mayst freely eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you should not eat of it, otherwise you will die. Some time later, created woman out of the rib from her, or from Adam's rib, okay? Made that. So, without getting into that any further, I'm going to stay there on that, because here's the thing, who are these people? Who are these people? And keep in mind, there was a mist over the land. There was no rain back then, so nobody saw what he was up to. The Elohim did not see what Yahweh was up to, because there was a mist over the land. There was no rain back then. Anyway, so he formed a man of mud and the woman of mud. The Hebrews call that, what do we call those creatures? Huh? What do we call those creatures that are made out of mud? Inanimate anthropomorphic being that is magically created entirely of inanimate matter, usually clay or mud. The word was used to mean an amorphous, unformed material in Psalms or medieval writing. Let's take a look. The word golem comes from galem, an embryo, unformed substance. Let's look at more. Strong's Hebrew again. Golem, again, verb. Here is the writing, the Hebrew writing. Means to wrap up, fold, or fold together. That's what you do with clay. When you're forming something, you keep on folding it over, don't you? Yes. So let's look at you can see here, this guy right here, the writing, the Hebrew script there. And then let's look at this. Wiktionary. Here's your writing in both forms that they've got, and it means golem. What is a golem? Again, it's not the thing in the Lord of the Rings, which is Gollum, which that's not just a coinkydink, okay, guys? But it is something made out of clay or mud, and there is a lot of Jewish lore about that, okay? And it means a lot of things. It's in Bible Psalms 139:16. Also, Golmi is another word for it. It means my golem. So guess what that means? So are we just golem, or are we man? Who created us? That's the good question right there. And I challenge folks to, let me know why we're supposed to be golem, because I'm not made. I mean, yeah, my skin gets dry and I flake off and everything, and that does mean dust. It does become dust, but it's an awful big stretch to say that I am made of mud and that's it. Again, so Yahweh told them to stay in the garden, not the whole earth. Yahweh prohibited their eating the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Elohim told first man and women to eat all the fruits of all the trees of all the earth. God in chapter 1 is Elohim, gods and goddesses. Yahweh in chapter 2 is Lord or Yaldabaoth, which we'll get into in the future installments. First man and woman is the ones created by the gods and goddesses. The hominids that Lord Yahweh created are Golem and were restricted to just the garden. So be sure to tune in next time for more discussions on who this usurper is and what he has done to creation and us. Thank you.
Find your quantum connections at tfrlive.com.